But now, I would like to start with the actual program. And I would like to introduce the first keynote speaker. Just to be precise, let me use also some guidance. So I would like to introduce you the Václav Vashek Matyas, who is a professor at the Masaryk University, Brno, and he's heading the Center of Research on Cryptography and Security. The research interests will include the applied cryptography, security, certification, and he has a lot of very interesting works and research in the field of information and cybersecurity. So the talk is how to set a manufacturing line for fingerprint faking. That's correct?
That's correct.
And yeah, Vashek, the floor is yours. This one is working.
With the keyboard or do I wait? Ah, perfect.
Should be working, I hope.
Perfect. Thank you very much. Great. Many thanks, Raimundas. Many thanks, everybody. Thanks for having me here in the beautiful city of Tartu. And thanks a lot for having me for NordSec. NordSec is a conference with which a significant part of my research and PhD education history goes. Let me share one of the stories about maybe already like 15, 18 years back when NordSec was in Reykjavik in Iceland. I'm speaking to a German friend of mine and I'm wondering, Lexi, how come you have 3 papers at NordSec? And he said that A, I am good, and B, I wanted to make sure that I get to NordSec because it's in Iceland, so I sent in 4 submissions and they rejected 1. And since then, I remember that NordSec is a prestigious conference in hearts and brains of many people, and I'm truly honored to have the opening keynote here. And I'll be talking about manufacturing. That's great, because when I spoke to Raimundas, he said, you can talk about anything you want. I said, okay, I'm a scientist. I spent nearly all my life with the university, okay, a couple sabbaticals with companies. Let's talk about manufacturing. And then I actually made a promise that later I was a little bit sorry about. I said, okay, you'll get 1 keynote, but effectively I'll get you 2. And don't be worried, I will not be playing here on piano or anything like that. I will first have to motivate some of us in the room why setting a manufacturing line for fingerprint fakes is of relevance and is of interest. So a significant part of my keynote will actually be lessons learned. The main lesson learned is fingerprint faking is an eye-opening exercise, but there will be a couple other exercises where I will ask you for some cooperation. Back then, more than 5 years ago, we had a nice applied research project with a company with whom my team has partnered for about 2 decades, Monet Plus. And we were supposed to research, together with a team of psychologists, methods that the company shortlisted for new wave of mobile banking solutions. I mind you, this is 2018, the project started, so we were writing the project in 2017, most likely. So what they wanted to investigate? They wanted to investigate the old, back then, 6-digit PIN code, compare it with fingerprint, that, again, against hardware NFC token that you have in the picture, and a smart card with a reader. And they wanted us in the project, together with the psychologists, to figure out, through a well-defined procedure, how standard population appreciates these 4 methods of authentication for mobile banking from the point of security, security perception, and usability. So we defined the procedure as it goes in this slide. We had a scenario that was us requesting the user to activate authenticating application, of course, installing it before that, and use it as a login method for the banking application. So this is not extremely important, but it is one of the limitations of that research. This was not integrated as one solution. There was an authenticating application and the M-banking application. And then they were supposed to pay a bill, undertake a practical step with their mobile banking application, or demo of their mobile banking application. Of course, for anybody who has done research with people who are terrible subjects to research, you know that you do the first exercise, you learn everything you screwed, and you are ready to do a better second version of that exercise. Then you learn everything what you screwed, and maybe third version will finally be something that will get you to a paper acceptance or proper results that you can not be shy of sharing with people. So we did 4 rounds of pre-tests, pilot tests with up to 10 applicants, and we geared up towards the full version that we then ran with hundreds of subjects. And these are quite significant numbers, not usually seen in such complicated scenarios. We worked with 2,500 adults aged up to 54, median age 38. This actually ran as an exercise through an external agency with whom we cooperated, but the agency was guaranteeing that we are getting representative sample. They went to the people. They were not just stopping the people in the street. They guaranteed that they are not just approaching the friend of their student employees who pretend that they are half males, half females, and that they are aged significantly above the age of the students, as it sometimes happens with some of the surveys and things. And then we approached 2,500 people who are, and this is important to mention, who are not representative. This was a convenience sampling, since Masaryk University is running an extensive program that we call University of Third Age, where people who are above 55 can get educated and entertained. These are people who care about their education even after the age of 55, who want to learn some new stuff, and most likely they are not truly representative of the population above 55. On top of that, as you can see, half of them still work while attending the university. The kids are out. The job is secured, let's get some education at the university. And we use them as a sample of the 55 plus population. So the first research question that we put in front of us was, how do the users evaluate the 4 selected authentication methods with respect to perceived security and usability? And now I want you to stop for a second and think for yourself on these 4 aspects. What methods out of the 4, PIN, 6-digit PIN, fingerprint, hardware NFC token, and card with a reader, which of these would you find as the best one in terms of security, or best one in terms of usability, working for you? Now consider we surveyed 500 people. What would you think was the best perceived method from these two viewpoints for the populations that we surveyed? Was there much of difference between these four methods? And overall, did our subjects, there was a spoiler, sorry, did our subjects value them overall rather as positive or as negative? 7 is the worst. Bottom line is 7. 1 is the best. As you can see, blue always goes for perceived security. Green goes for perceived usability. You can see that all four methods are okay-ish with the surveyed populations. And I mean, you can find more details in publications that we have out of that, but there was not a huge difference between the 25 to 55 population and 55 and above population. You can also see that Fingerprint fares the best in terms of both security as well as usability. You can actually see that all but the smart card are perceived always better in terms of usability than in terms of perceived security. There are things that probably we all identify as weird. There are a couple of them that puzzle me, and actually quite a few of them led to subsequent research. Before we jump to the subsequent research and inclusive of the application actually, let me share some other lessons learned from this exercise. We wanted to see whether out of the things we had as part of our extended hypothesis, whether certain things can be taken as predictors of certain perception. Whether people who have some experience in mobile banking solutions in general would prefer different authentication methods than people who did not have any previous experience with mobile banking and they only used standard internet banking before. Similarly, we believed that there is a difference in terms of users who have much more experience using smartphone and being able to fully manage their smartphone, as opposed to people who are perhaps new to smartphones, as the elderly population. I mind you that it was 2019, 2020, and not everybody had a smartphone, especially in the aging population. Same with security behavior, security appreciation. And of course, factors of knowledge of, so now I pushed nothing. I better put this magic thing down. That was.
I'm just puzzled by this positive correlation between usability and security in the perceptions. And the first conclusion I would make of that is that the users have no idea what is secure and what is not.
Yes, this was one of my takeaways from that project as well. That's why I'm trying to stress this is perceived security. And we made sure that in both populations, we were not approaching IT professionals. As you could have seen in the elderly population, oh God, where was it? In the elderly population, we actually explicitly excluded everybody who worked in the IT industry. Yes, I wonder about the same thing, but that's the observation. I'm not changing the facts, I'm just merely sharing them here. And I don't have an explanation. I have a reason why I did the second part of the story that I'll be telling here today. So, we wanted to see whether these factors that we collected through the part of the survey form where the subjects shared some information on themselves, their length of usage of a mobile, length of usage of M-banking solution and so on, shared this with us, and what we wondered what factors predict the perceived, or whether there are factors that predict the perceived usability or security. Reminder again of the four methods. A reminder that all methods were perceived as rather positive in both security dimension and usability dimension. And Fingerprint was rated as the best in terms of usability and security. We identified no significant predictor out of the information that we gathered from the participants that would let us predict what part of population would prefer one method of authentication against another or perceive it in one way or a different way. Nothing. Nothing out of what we collected from the users. One interesting thing that we learned, however, and very important for the industry actually, is that the satisfaction with time spent authenticating was much more important in terms of the perception of the authentication methods than the entire task completion time. So the users do not really care how long it takes them to pay a bill and get their mobile banking working. This factor is less important, statistically less important for them than the time they spend to get in the solution, to authenticate themselves. This was the only statistically significant takeaway with respect to the observations beyond comparison of the four methods of authentication that we did. We have to, or I have to share with you that we examined only Android mobile users, that for the part of the Asian population we did convenience sampling, and at that time vast majority, nearly everybody sampled had previous experience only with the fingerprint and PIN. Not everybody had the fingerprint experience, but most of them had. And this was a hypothetical scenario. We had full demonstration, there was a full back end as well as front end, obviously, for the banking solution, but it was not the banking solution of the users themselves. It was a demo version that behaved completely like M-banking solution. The company we worked with develops M-banking solutions for, I believe, 2 of the 3 or 4 largest Czech banks. And on top of that, authentication app was not, or was a separate app from the mobile banking app. These are the 5 most constraining limitations we are aware of. So, Fingerprint viewed as the best method from the position of both security and usability. This was a very depressive observation for me, since I introduced a course on authentication and access control at Masaryk University about 20 years ago. For a few years examining security of biometric authentication methods for the large Swiss bank UBS, and following then on that research, learning a lot of things and sharing it with students, teaching the students what ways to circumvent various authentication methods based on biometrics, trying to share this with the knowledgeable population, and then figuring out that in general, the population out of the IT industry truly believes that the fingerprint will improve the security of the authentication. In terms of usability, I would agree with them. It's wonderful and extremely convenient method, of course. But then we thought, okay, what we are doing wrong? We are talking to students about this. We release always 100 plus, it's about 150 students on average that attend this course every year. And then we thought, okay, we must do something different to try to change the world for the better. So we have been preaching about insecurity and limitations of biometric authentication for quite some time. We have been showing and sharing research of others. Some of you will very likely remember a cool research coming from Japan more than 20 years ago, so-called gummy bear attack, with the fakes being done then with the collaboration with the users, and the fakes having quite impressive performance on readers of optical nature and capacitive nature for the fingerprint readers. There is a lot of work done with latent fingerprints, the fingerprints you leave on surfaces. And technically speaking, is there a better surface than your mobile screen where you or somebody else can collect your fingerprints if they want to take a form according to which they will manufacture a very suitable fake? Well, we wanted to show the students something even stronger. Not necessarily the then not US president 4 years back, but our vision was, let's have a user who is not only not willingly cooperating with you, but also a user whose device, or actually fingerprint, you do not have even physically in the possession yourself. Let's do it from the picture. Because doing it from the picture of latent fingerprint was a thing done by many people before. This method is utilized by services of many countries, as far as I know. So switching off your mobile completely and cleaning your mobile when you go to the gym or some exercise like that, not leaving in the locker, may be a precautionary measure that you want to exercise if you are using fingerprint for authenticating into your mobile. So let's do it just from a good picture. Of course, we had to spend quite some time, and I have to give huge credits to our sister research group that works in the area of image processing. We bothered them for some time. We told them, okay, investigating cells and other things from electron microscopes gets you publications in nice journals and things. But here we will do this. We explained it to them, and we were lucky, or we were successful. We got their attention, and they were willing to spend some time, and they dedicated one postdoc to us for helping us to prepare a software battery that was purely image processing software battery, where you take a good picture of a finger from the front, you do all the processing, at the end of which you get the map of the minutiae that are the basis of fingerprint authentication. So now we are finally at the point of manufacturing. An academician speaks of manufacturing. What was the workbench, or what is the workbench that we are utilizing for the students? You start with the picture. You utilize software battery that takes care of the image processing, discretization, and all the necessary steps. And you get black and white picture of the finger minutiae. Then we reverse this, and we use a very simple tool most of you have in your homes. If not in the homes, you have in the offices, and that's a standard laser printer. What is nice about laser printer? Well, it's taking that, it's taking that dust that comes in the cassette and actually sort of ironing it on the surface. Today, we are typically ironing it on the surface of paper. Those who are a little bit older and did maybe lecturing more than 20 years ago will remember that we did not have PowerPoint and connection through the computer. We used the slides, the transparent slides. What is nice about transparent slides? They have a perfectly even surface. So if you iron the printer cassette dust on the perfectly even surface, you get a form, a reverse, actually, a form for casting fingerprints. So you print it on the laser printer in reverse, and then the only thing you need after that is a material that in the beginning goes in all the holes of the form in which you are casting, and in a reasonable time dries up, after which time you can take it off the transparent slide and put it on the device where you would want to have the finger read. In the very beginning, we used the glue. And I see a few faces from Czechia, may know a very famous glue that we used all through the childhood, coming back with the fingers sticky, called Hercules. It's the whitish kind of glue, and I believe every country has got something similar like that, that kids in the elementary school typically use for gluing pieces of paper together. The papers are of different colors, and sometimes you can glue different things. But for gluing metal and other surfaces, it's rather useless. But it's a fantastic glue and extremely cheap glue. So for a time, all the shops providing this kind of supplies around the Faculty of Informatics of Masaryk University had no supplies of this glue. And we utilized it heavily for this kind of exercises. Then we learned that, and I will jump maybe a little bit forward, that yes, we can show it to our students, and still we were not happy with the first phase of manufacturing. What was the first phase of manufacturing? We had to spend 2 times 100 minutes and have a 1-week break in between to get the whole thing really working. In one seminar, the students gave us some of their inputs, filled a survey questionnaire. We explained the theory behind fingerprint faking and fingerprint authentication to them. They did the photography, they did the laser printing, and they applied the glue into the form, into the mold. But then the glue had to dry up. So then 1 week break between the 2 seminars was rather useful. And at the next seminar, they were doing the exercises that I shall mention in a few moments. We were not happy about this. This is not manufacturing. This is just piloting. Low level of TRL. So we inquired in the professional circles, and we learned about silicone. So not a glue for the children, silicone for the adults. And we are buying silicone like crazy now. Silicone is magic because it dries up much faster, and you can have and share this fun with your students within less than 100 minutes. They are able to take the picture, create the form, cast, and do the steps that I will tell you about for figuring out how well they performed. So going back, what did we do when we had the fake fingertip, or copy of the fingertip, to be fair, out? The toughest exercise is unlock your own mobile. Put it forward as your own finger, whether you can unlock your own mobile. One level lower. Maybe you were not precise, maybe you did not do a perfect job at the picture taking time, maybe the form was not that great, but still convincing enough to convince the phone that the stuff that is on the reader of the finger is a real finger. So can the stuff that you make, if you can't authenticate yourself with it, is it still good enough for the mobile to recognize it as a finger and register it as a new finger for another user? So that was the lower level of quality check. And finally, we ran the scanned print of the copy of the fingertip through the US NIST biometric image software quality control and their packages that are used as a standard in the industry. We introduced this, and this was part of our missionary statement. We introduced this as an exercise in information security introductory course that all students of computing at Masaryk University have to take in the second year of their studies. So we are speaking of people who have 1 year of introductory classes into programming algorithms and things like that, and in their second year they undertake this exercise. Not all of them who are in our course, of course, agree. It depends on the perception. Do I want to be part of this study or not? So while we have typically over 200, sometimes I think this calendar year we had like 330 students in the course, it's typically 100 to 200 that take part in this. The absolute numbers are of some significance, and I may jump back to them because most of the things we measure in terms of rate of success in percents, but for the actual pass as the right finger of the right user whose mobile is being subject to the exercise, there we are sharing the absolute figures only because playing with the fractions of percent is not that scientifically convincing. So I mentioned to you already that in the terms of manufacturing, we were able to reduce the length of the process for 1 week and 2 seminars into just 1 seminar that is tied to a lecture, and the lecture actually wraps up all things related to access control and authentication, and fingerprints are just a minor part of that. From the ethical point of view, before I share the results with you, we are actually not collecting the biometric data themselves. The students work with their own data. One important reason of switching from the glue to something else, to the silicone ultimately, is actually for the rooms not being full of copies of fingertips drying up, because we told the students you should take it home, but many students asked, what the hell, please can we leave it in one of your PhD rooms to let it dry up? And we felt very uneasy about that service, so this was a significant part of our motivation to switch from glue to something else. So now they work with their samples and they carry them in their bags if they want home, or they destroy them in the shredder. And other aspect is that we are collecting only self-reported data. And the participation, as I have mentioned, is voluntary. So what did we get? How good is the manufacturing line that we are entertaining now regularly for every spring batch of Masaryk University students? In terms of passing the NIST standard for quality control, the success rate is about half, roughly speaking. In the beginning, the performance was not that great, about 20%. The year after, it improved significantly, and it was 58% last time we bothered measuring. For unlocking the phone, the manufacturing line is improving. It's about quality control. We are not close to whatever the standard certification is, ISO 9001 or whatever it is, but we are improving. So although the numbers of people who take part in went down from 220 to about 150, in the beginning, we are not extremely successful. We were much better the year after, and again, significantly better another year after. We did not measure much this year, and it was my failure. I am not able to share the data from this year with you because I was on a sabbatical here in the beautiful city of Tartu, and my level of attention to this was rather low. I spent the time on different things. But I take this opportunity as a commitment that we shall measure again next year, and sometimes I will share the data where our production line already is. And in terms of registering the counterfeit into a smartphone, the success rate is somewhere around these numbers. And I am most happy about this last aspect. Why? Well, because people are changing their mobiles. The mobiles are improving in many ways. More and more manufacturers claim that their mobile fingerprint reader, or the mobile with the software after the fingerprint reading, has got some kind of liveness detection, that the stuff that is touching the reader is a stuff from a living person. So I would be worried that our number in this dimension is getting significantly lower and lower. And even anecdotically, from this year, it is not the case. In terms of security perception, we measured in the first 2 years of our exercises the shifts in the perception of the subjects before and after this eye-opening exercise. And yes, it is working. The fingerprint authentication was getting perceived as less secure after the forgery simulation. And the shift went, this is the more secure, perceived as more secure. The fingerprint now in the perspective of our subjects, students and future graduates of informatics at Masaryk University, is now getting to the level of being compared roughly to the good PIN security, which would be my take as well, personally. So we believe that from this point of view, we are fulfilling the mission. In terms of perceived susceptibility to attacks, it definitely is working as well. It clearly indicated, our results clearly indicated that it's significantly higher before the forgery simulation than after the forgery simulation. The forgery itself and the exercise that we have undertaken is viewed as easy to learn, little bit hard to perform, but that showed only for the first run, where very likely the glue was the factor, working with the stuff that is stickier than the silicone, and it bothers you, since the professors bother you to take it away, make sure it does not touch anything and take it home with you, and then they are a nuisance if you want to leave it in the room that is shared with the PhD students of the research lab. And in the first run, we were able, for some reason, to show the subjects, the students, that the attacker level, the level of skills and readiness to undertake the attacks was viewed as lower, requiring less skills and less experience than we managed in the following years, and we have no good explanation for that. Our subjects are changing their behavior and their attitude after this exercise. And we find it as great, and we encourage them to speak home to their parents, and namely to their grandparents, of course. So, I want to share with you that, of course, there were some limitations. People are making fakes of their own finger just out of, well, two reasons. One is the requirement of the professors to undertake this, but it's not a marked exercise on its own. And other is entertainment. There is no financial or other gain, and the motivation of these attackers is significantly different than motivation of many other attackers I can imagine. We faced a lot of issues with the photo quality, so part of the manufacturing line that you can see in part of a video that I will share the link for with you in a moment is actually about having something, smaller version of the kiosk for taking pictures you can see in front of, or you could have seen in the past, in front of police stations at the airports and elsewhere. We have a box in which we help the students to position their hand. We have tooling that is basically pile of coins to help with respect to the sizing estimation, and other things that are actually helping in the process. For those who would care and would want to undertake this exercise with your students, we can make available a full half-an-hour video that we use for tutors, because with 300 plus students, you have quite a number of seminar groups. So the manufacturing line is serious manufacturing. So we have a tutorial video for the tutors, how to push the students through this. So this is a reasonably documented process if you care about trying it. Here you have resources to both first part of the research, the comparison of the authentication methods, as well as the second part, and namely, I'll be sharing with you in a minute on the last final slide, link to a video that we prepared together with our colleagues at the University of Arizona that describes this entire story in a few minutes, 5 or 7 minutes, something like that, I believe, and a paper that documents these and more results on the exercise with the fingerprint faking. I want to stress that we are able to push this through hundreds of students who have no previous, we believe we have students who have no previous experience in fingerprint faking, and they successfully undertake this exercise in significantly less than 100 minutes. We did this because we were really stressed seeing the general non-IT population believing fingerprints are the most secure method, even when compared to smart card, NFC token, and PIN. The results and the measurements we do with the team of the psychologists at Masaryk University about the perception are mixed, and in different years they are slightly different. It's a process that is hard to measure. The anecdotic story that I heard from several of my students, it depends on my enthusiasm in the lecture that precedes the seminars, how much I am stressing certain things, that this is having some influence on the students and therefore influencing their perception even before they come to the seminar where we show them how they will themselves make the fake of the fingertip. So that's essentially all from me. Here you have a link to the full article in IEEE Access and a link to the video. That is the short video to be shared with parents, grandparents, and friends. If you want access to the tutorial video to show the tutors what the process is like, please share your card with me on ping me over LinkedIn or something like that. I will be glad to share that. It's not a confidential material. So many thanks for your attention, and I will be definitely happy to answer your questions.
Okay, who would like a question?
Yes, thank you for demonstrating how easy it can be to fake a fingerprint on a phone. Do you have any results on the performance of different brands of phones, and like, are some more reliable, or like different models? Are some types of sensors more reliable, or?
There are differences. Some of these, but only some, are actually in the paper. We have this paper, and it references an older paper published I don't know where, at some conference. So some results we have, but as you can guess, we can't influence what mobiles the students will bring in the class. Yeah? And on top of that, it's not those who did some work with the mobiles will very likely confirm. It's a crazy world that even the same line of a mobile that you are getting in the span of just few weeks, not even months, is sometimes equipped with a significantly different hardware in terms of the fingerprint reader. So it's a never-ending battle if you want to monitor this landscape. But some results we have and we are sharing in the publications.
Thanks for that, showing that. I would be very interested in trying that at our university, so I will approach you about the tutoring video. Two questions, one tacking on to this one. Did you see any correlation on success rates on authentication bypass with the forgeries with screen protectors?
No, we did not measure that, no.
Because that, as far as I'm aware, that is actually one of the big factors. Screen protectors make quality of particularly ultrasonic sensors quite a bit worse. So I saw that rise in numbers. Would be very interested if that's correlated with the rise of use of screen protectors.
I believe, but that's anecdotic observation, that the uptake of the protectors is growing. I know very little people in terms of the age of my kids and our students that would now not have a protector for the screen because of the cost of the smartphone. Yeah. On the other hand, again, it's very tricky. Some mobiles have it on the screen, some have it on the side, on the button, and the positions again are vastly different.
And second question, did you try to, in the questionnaires, maybe with the students within that IT course, to differentiate somehow in their perception of security of different authentication methods concerning different types of attacks? Because there's a lot of nuance there. Shoulder surfing versus those kinds of advanced forgery attackers. I think asking against which type of attack you might get significantly different answers if users have actually thought about the security status. Thank you.
Very good question. Unfortunately, the limitation for us is the 100-minute time. Given the university, mode of operation and everything, we have to get the students out of the room in 100 minutes, then other people take the room over. So yeah, there is a lot of, and these are very good questions. We would love to have the answers from them. Given the sample that we have, 200 to 300 is actually a nice sample. But we have to limit ourselves in our curiosity and interest to investigate things, unfortunately.
Yes, thank you for the very nice presentation. You mentioned that your motivation initially was from the industry. So the first research that you made was from the industry. So have you taken your results back to the industry? So what are their what is their take? So are they still using fingerprints because it's so convenient, or are they phasing it out because it's so insecure?
Correct. I mean, we have representatives on the industry here. Correct me if I am wrong. It depends what the customer is asking for. If the bank requests that they want this and that method of authentication, some of their people will, of course, listen to the industry. This works, this does not work, but they have their own mindset, and they are the customer they are paying. So we try in the past 2 years to go towards that, and we try to show this at conferences with bankers and other people to open their eyes. That's our current service. Do you want to comment on that anymore?
I think you were getting perfectly right.
The numbers that I was showing in the first part of my story, I believe will be only slightly better if you take people in the banking industry, unfortunately.
Okay, so thanks for the presentation. So the authentication factors that we have, I mean, we split them into 3 categories usually. So who you are, what you know, and what you have. And fingerprints are part of this, who you are. So, and fingerprints are out, let's say, from this category. Do you think that, so what kind of authentication factors are in this who you are category that are still good?
It depends really on the purpose and how you can check things. If you can make sure that what is in front of the camera is a human, which is a very important thing and not easy in mobile banking or anything about, and not anything that can be done other than by physical means, then of course it's iris. But we had, who knows the method of authentication, we had long discussions on this and worked for some time with John Dongman. He was behind the methods for iris recognition. But if the device that is checking is at the reception of an institution and there is a physical guy checking and you trust that physical guy, then many methods are great. But once you have the limitation, you need to check at a mobile that is anywhere in the world, then no authentication based on a person is actually great. It's a small part of a puzzle only. Okay. I mean, as far as we know, and Henry, we spent quite some time. I'm not working in this field except for educating students for the past 10 years or so, but when we really cared and when we tried, we were able to fake everything. We did not get any method for liveness detection that we would not bypass. At the time, I was able to influence, for example, the Swiss bank UBS we did not use, or they did not use, biometric authentication beyond environments where they had things under some control. And the control was beyond the basic mode of, or modalities of the authentication.
Okay. I would like maybe to challenge, like, not so much how insecure fingerprints is, but more like, let's say, the relative ranking on like which method we should use, because indeed, so you show that it's easy to break, but also humans are quite bad at setting PIN and passwords. Like I've heard like some, let's say, password cracking success rate in Europol. You're like, yeah, okay, it's extremely high and much higher than 10%. And so I wonder whether, like, in fact, fingerprint is bad, but password is worse. For the other NFC token, etc., you need third-party devices which have like other assumption. But for something like you just have a smartphone, I wonder whether fingerprint is like the best bad solution we have right now.
Fair question. And we all know that there can be great passwords and there can be shitty passwords. Same for PINs. I would not dare saying that fingerprints are worse than passwords in general, of course. On the other hand, our current knowledge and the research invested in password quality and the checks is actually helping us to improve the level of security of password-based authentication. That does not save us from things like passwords being copied, shared, and things like that. There are always pros and cons. What I'm trying to fight against is to have biometric-based authentication as a complete replacement of another methods of authentication. That's one thing. I believe they can enhance the overall security, but they should not be used as a replacement of PIN or password-based authentication. They are a good additional method, but not a replacement. That's one thing. Second thing that I would want to stress is that when the research with fingerprints actually has been done, again through half a century, actually, I mean in terms of computer-based processing. Again, this attracted significant amount of investment and attention of many research teams as well. And that's very subjective what I will say, but I did not see there such a level of improvement as I have seen in terms of password quality. And the things that I have seen in terms of fingerprint liveness checking, for me are frustration with this part of research and the associated industry. Sure. Any other question?
Nowadays, new biometrical ID recognition is this facial ID recognition. Have you done any studies? Because I think the people trust on that quite a lot nowadays.
We did not do them since we left the bank. We did not do them for 2 decades. But again, and this is what I'm telling to my students. Why do you think when you go to your, whatever institution is issuing your passport or the ID, they have this huge poster on the wall, what you should not do and what you should not have your head positioned like, and all these, don't do this. Don't smile too much, don't close or don't open your eyes too much, and things like that. It's actually even easier, from my perception, from what I know about face-based authentication, is even easier to influence and create fakes and misleading trajectories for the algorithm's decisions than for the finger. Those of you who follow the activities of the German CCC will know of decades of their exercises for various kinds of face paintings and stress tests of airport face recognition tests and other things. It's a small potential improvement. I mean, face-based recognition. It's better to have it than not, but I would not bet on it for significantly more security or more security than the fingerprint. Not. And we did some experimenting with 3D and other things.
Let's thank the speaker again. Thanks a lot, Vashek, for the
Thank you.
very interesting talk.